What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 27 of Value Town. I'm your host, ChanManV, and joining me today is Mr. Trump here, as always. What's up, Trump?
Oh, hi.
We got a guest interviewer, too, Gnimsh here, a good friend of ours, been on the show before. What's up, Marcin?
Hey Chris, hi guys.
And we
Just good
get
to be here again.
awesome, and we got a special guest today, Mr. Ben Brode, who's never been on the show, so first timer, and it's really, really great to have you on. He's a Blizzard Hearthstone senior game designer, and he's going to get a chance to talk to us about a lot of the new news with the Naxxramas adventure mode, all that good stuff, and hopefully we get a chance to talk about some balance and some other news like the World Championships and Fireside Gathering. So lots to talk about today. Really excited to have you here. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you very much. It's super exciting to be here.
Yeah, awesome. But okay, let's just get things started because Ben, we don't have Ben for a super long time. But I think figured we would just kick it off with just talking about Naxxramas and just really talking about just the details with that. And I'll let Gnimsh kind of lead the way here.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So Ben, you've announced Naxxramas, which is like great news for all the players because you bring a lot of content. Why Naxxramas? Like it's an adventure mode, but you could pick all the other different like instances or dungeons from the World of Warcraft universe. Why Naxxramas?
Well, a lot of reasons. First, Naxxramas is awesome. I don't know if you guys have played through Naxxramas in World of Warcraft, but it's clearly one of the best. It's super moody, and it's got this great vibe in it. Also, it is very familiar to lots of people who played World of Warcraft because it was the final raid in Classic World of Warcraft and the first raid in Wrath of the Lich King. So kind of two eras of World of Warcraft players have been through Naxxramas and seen, these super iconic villains in the dungeon. And it's got a ton of bosses. There's 15 bosses in it. And so we wanted to do a lot of single player missions, and this was a great fit for that.
And maybe like the game was lacking Death Knight, so it also brings some kind of a Death Knight-ish theme.
Yeah, there's a little Death Knight-ish theme in there, sure. Yeah, I mean, for those people who are who keep tweeting at me to please
Exactly, placating all those guys,
exactly.
right?
Okay, so like 15 bosses, and lots of those bosses have like really amazing mechanics in the game. You've spoiled already like Hagen, that there will be this Hagen dance that targets the minion on the side. What is the best mechanic you think like designed for this adventure mode?
Well, I don't want to spoil any of the cool surprises, but I'll just explain kind of some of the stuff that we think about when designing these missions. So we want it to be simple enough to understand what's going on right away. So if you look at the opposing player's hero power, and it does something like Hagen's where it deals damage to the guy on the left, and you start thinking like, oh, maybe I'll put like the Gurbashi Berserker in my deck and put him on the left side, and Hagen will keep enraging him, or I'll put the Nerubian on like egg on the left side. Maybe Hagen will destroy that and make a 4/4 for me. And that's the kind of thing that we want you to immediately start thinking about when you see the opposing hero's hero power. And the heroes have some unique cards in their decks as well, and maybe they do some other stuff that maybe you're not expecting. But that's kind of the thing that we want to crystallize, some new way to think about your deck or how to play the game that changes it from what you are seeing in the arena or on the ladder.
So can you at least say, like, without spoiling anything, which mechanic that you designed is best for you, so that when you release in the summer, I will know that, oh yeah, this was the band's favorite.
Well, I'll just say that I put a lot of time into the Kel'Thuzad fight, and
Okay.
I'm not gonna say what goes, but I'm very happy with all of the pieces. All the VO is so exciting for Nax. I'm like I don't know. You guys, when you see it, I think you'll be excited too. It's really great.
I'm excited already, actually. So, Naxxramas theme. We have a new game board. Like, we have this Naxxramas game board with a lot of acid and plague and stuff. Will this be the only game board that you're adding, or are you also planning getting something more frosty for the Frost Worm Lair or something?
It's just this one game board, and this game board is so awesome. The artists who are doing the clickables and Ben Thompson who painted the whole thing. I mean, it's just got this great vibe. It's really different than the other boards. It's moody, but it's still got like, this is super challenging, by the way, to get something that feels Naxxramas-y and spooky it also feels like you're in an inn, in a tavern, playing with your buddies. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
that cross section is really narrow, I think.
Yeah.
And these guys nailed it. I mean, it's just awesome. It feels Naxxramas-y. It feels like the inn, and it's really fun to play on the. Everybody walks by when I'm playing in Nax is like, wow, it's really cool, and the things are moving, and it's just great.
So I feel like the JPEG doesn't actually give
Yeah.
up all the things you're saying.
No,
like,
not at all. No.
okay.
Yeah, like I don't know if you've seen the image, but there's like a pot of like ooze in the top right corner. It's kind of like janky and like jiggling, and things are flying out of it, and just the spider eggs in the bottom left corner are kind of like jittering, and you click on them, it explodes, and little spiders crawl out. It's great. It's really charming.
Here you go.
So like
That's
design wise, you said that Ben Thompson actually had to create the new map there. With regards to card art for the expansion, did you have to commission like a lot of new art, or are you reusing some stuff that you had before?
Yeah, I mean, we one of the great things about making a game in the Warcraft universe is there's so much incredible art to use. So we are using some of this just huge library of incredible images, and then we also went out and commissioned a bunch of new art for some of the designs that we were really excited about that we didn't have art for in the past. So there's a bunch of new art in Nax, and it's mind blowing. And we showed some of it with the Nerubian Egg and the Dancing Swords, and it just gets better and better from there. There's so many cool new pieces. The new Lotheb art is shocking. It's so good. Sammy did it. It's just amazing.
So I had a question about the difficulty level of the bosses.
Sure.
So I think a few people were asking in Reddit, and I've seen it a few times. Is it just going to be set? Is it just going to be the same for everybody, or is it going to maybe be adjusted based on maybe your rank or what cards you have and that sort of thing?
When you play a mission, it's set at a certain difficulty, and hopefully that difficulty is such that players who are new-ish still when they get Nax and start playing aren't like immediately blocked. Like, okay, I know you paid a bunch of gold to get access to this wing, but unless you beat the bosses, you don't get the cards.
Right.
So like you don't get the cards because you're not very good, or you don't have you haven't figured out a good deck yet, or whatever. So we got to make sure that players who are super excited about Nax and haven't figured out their strategies yet still can get in there and beat it eventually. Maybe they have to build a deck specifically to beat this boss, or maybe get a little lucky. But hopefully they can beat those missions as well. But then also we want to make it really entertaining for players like you guys and me. So
exactly.
that's tricky. But I think we have some ideas for other things that we can do to kind of reach that goal. And I'm not ready to talk about all those things just yet. But
Of course.
but I think we'll deliver on some exciting stuff for everybody.
But there's some scaling to some extent, right? There'll be like easier guys leading up to somebody who's really hard.
I mean, we're not gonna make every boss exactly the same difficulty level.
Cool.
Some bosses, I know that people in our playtesting environments have been struggling against Gothic, for example. I think some bosses will be harder than others, but everybody, I think, will have a good time learning about these crazy new mechanics and how they can build their decks to take advantage of them.
Okay, very cool. Lots of new cards announced. And there was one recently this week. We actually talked about the first 5 last week, just with Trump and Reynaud. But we can get let's just get your opinion on those. The first 5 first. And Trump, actually, do you have any question regarding the first 5 cards? Maybe you can ask Ben.
No.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. I thought maybe. It's all good. No, but anyways, first 5 cards. I gotta just surprise Trump with that one. So yeah.
I might
Anyways,
have some questions actually.
lots of really cool designs. And okay, Gnimsh, if you got some questions, why don't you ask him?
Yeah, I think I can jump ahead actually and ask about the keywords, because from the cards that were spoiled last week, we've seen a lot of Death Rattle. And Baron Rivender being a card that's actually stresses Death Rattle as the keyword of the adventure mode. So is this the whole design of of everything? Because we are getting 30 new cards for constructed, but there will be a ton of new cards for the adventure mode that are not available for constructed play, right?
Yeah, that the bosses will use against you, but you can't play in your own.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's some like that. Yeah, they're totally unfair. They're totally brutal.
and unbalanced actually, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, and so like the throttle, right? It's the keyword for the set. So there is nothing
Right.
new in terms of the keywords that.
Yeah.
You're right in that there aren't any new keywords, but
Yeah,
there's definitely a lot of new things that we haven't done
interactions and stuff.
before. Yeah, I mean um, we talk about keywords a lot, and I think it's interesting when to do a keyword and when not to do a keyword because there are some things like let me think of an example here. There's two cards in the expert set, Emperor Cobra and Patient Assassin, that have the exact same power,
Yeah,
and we could have keyworded that power, and then you would see it on the other guy and be like, oh, that's the same thing as Patient Assassin. But there's not very many of those guys who do that. So maybe if we did a ton more of those in the future, we would keyword it at that point. But if you're new to the game and you read Emperor Cobra and it says, insta kill or whatever, then you're like, well, what is that? I don't know what that means. And you mouse over it, you have to, kind of two parts to understanding the card. But once you do that, you get it. And so the next time, and you see Patient Assassin, you're like, oh, I get it. I remember that guy. I totally, you don't have to read it at all, almost. But the interesting thing is, without doing a keyword, you actually have to read both cards. You have to read Patient Assassin, understand it, then go read it Emperor Cobra, read it again, and then realize, oh, that's the same thing that I already read before and understood from the last time I read it. So
yeah,
keywords actually make things easier to understand once you understand what the keyword is over a series of cards. But in a small amount, it doesn't actually makes it more confusing because players aren't exposed to it all the time, and so they have to read it and then mouse over it and read it again. There are new mechanics, but not new keywords yet.
Okay, but on the other hand, like the throttle and the interactions that we'll see, like I feel like it gives more depth to the game because there will be more triggers. Like with regards, if you, for example, have like a minion with the throttle Baron and you copy Baron with Faceless Manipulator, what happens then? Like how many defraddles where I'm going to get? So
Well, so the reason that works differently than Velen. Velen, I think, says double your damage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you play two of them, he like quadruples your damage. And if you faceless the first one, but Baron says your death rattles trigger twice. So if that happens, it's just saying it happens twice. And this guy says it happens twice. They both agree it happens twice. So
okay.
it's not that each instance
It's
of
quadrupled.
it splits.
Exactly. That'd be amazing if that happened.
Yeah.
I can't
So
even put enough
hard.
veins on the board. Yeah, that'd be crazy. So a new card was announced today, just the class-specific card, right, with the Druid card. Let's talk a little bit about that. That card is pretty amazing, actually. First thought that comes to me is that handlock, just GG handlock, right, against at least that matchup. But yeah, talk to us a little bit about this card. I mean, just why pick the design for this card?
Let's see. We're thinking about this what to do for druids in Naxxramas, and we wanted to do something that had to do with death. Pretty much every card has something to do with death or death rattle, and so we were thinking about like druids and their interaction with death, and how they sometimes find a way to bring life out of death.
Right.
And so we thought about tree ants or growth of some kind. And this is just kind of one. We just pitched a bunch of ideas on, how to get the druid theme. With druids and Naxxramas are not necessarily things that belong together. There's not like a druidic thing going on in Naxxramas, except for maybe like poisonous mushrooms. It's like the closest relevant thing. So
Torturing druids.
yeah. So this card is our attempt at getting that death feel, that destroying guys. It works well with death rattle, right? We considered. We could have made this like a mass polymorph sort of where it transforms guys into trees, but this actually triggers all the death rattles, so it works well with the other cards in the set as well.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. When it comes to the class cards, I guess being introduced in Naxxramas, will there just be one per class, or will there be equal numbers per class, or what's the plan with that?
There's going to be one new class card per class. The rest are neutral cards.
All right. Okay.
And the biggest reason for that actually is that there's a lot of really cool creatures and bosses in Naxxramas, and we wanted to put a lot of them in Naxxramas as neutral minions. So we had so many cool ideas. The set was originally going to be smaller than this, and we were like, oh, let's add this guy. This is going to be so fun. And so like it just kept getting bigger and bigger, because we're so excited about all the new cards and all the new mechanics, and that's how it ended up getting to be 30 cards.
Yeah, so in total we are getting 30 new cards, which will totally change the metagame, it seems.
Oh
Because so
man,
many
no doubt.
cards, many interactions. And it will
You
be
guys have
changing the
seen
metagame in
when we
batches.
change the balance of like 2 cards, it totally changes the
I
metagame.
know,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly.
When you
With
don't change
30
any
cards.
cards, it changes like week to
It's
week.
true.
So
Yeah.
I mean, okay, yeah, I'm excited, man. It's gonna be amazing. It's literally gonna flip the meta. I mean, it's gonna, in some ways, maybe even start it from scratch, which is
Yep.
super exciting. But yeah, any other questions, guys, from for Naxxramas?
Yeah, I think like we touched. Oh, Jeffrey, unless you want to ask a question.
He's saving it for balance, man. So let's go.
Okay. Yeah, I want to ask a balance question and also about testing. So we are getting 30 new cards, which is a lot, and we just said that we will be changing the metagame. You will be releasing them in batches. So like the first week you unlock Spider Wing, we get 5 new cards injected, like 5, right? It's like
Pretty
10
close.
or
Four?
Ish, 5 ish.
something like, yeah, 5-ish, like 5, 7, whatever.
I think
It's
it's
like we are
like
getting
4 to
those
6 or
cards.
something. It depends on when the class cards come into the mix. I
Yeah.
forgot.
So it's like there will be 5 different metagames in consecutive weeks because the first week we get Spider Wing cards, we have metagame with Spider
Yep.
Wings, and
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's
so
true. I didn't think about that.
that will be pretty exciting.
It is. It's going to be nuts. I mean, everything you think you know in this week, by the next week, it's all different, and then by the next week, it's all different again. And some things will start to like there's good cards in all these wings, so things will start to kind of take a foothold. But then by week 4, maybe something else changes everything again. So I'm really excited. I think it's going to be cool to see people try and go through the dungeons and post on Reddit and say, hey, someone help me with a deck for Fairlina. I can't figure out how to beat this thing. Or and then now I got that card. What do I build? Like, it's going to be totally different. There's going to be so many new ideas about how the game works and how the bosses work. I'm super excited.
Yeah, for like PvE experience that we are going to get, it seems very amazing. Like you will be trying to get through the dungeons and get the optimal setup. I'm sure like people will also do challenges like trying to defeat this boss with like only a common deck without any rares
Yep,
and stuff.
yep.
But on the other hand, we have constructed play where you will be like changing the metagame every week, and maybe some deck will be like the best, and everybody will play it for a certain week. Like, did you plan for that as well, or do you plan to actually like tweak the cards if they are too powerful in certain combinations?
Well, it's nothing. Even if something is dominant for a week, I mean, we've seen that through the course of release so far. Things come up, and then once you know everyone's playing this, you can put cards in your deck to counter
Yep,
that strategy.
chop it down pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so things that will happen. People will try out the new cards, or someone will realize that everyone's trying the new cards, and maybe these cards are good against the new cards, or whatever. And we'll see these spikes of new strategies. But because there's new content coming next week, and because people are going to realize what's good against those new strategies, it's gonna change all the time for weeks. And then hopefully, you guys will have time to try out all these new strategies with the whole set of Naxxramas cards and see if you can break that meta. And there was another part of your question, but I've forgotten what it was now.
Yeah, it's more like, okay, so like it will be super exciting, and we will live in a chaos for like a month or something.
Yep.
But then after a month,
Oh, will we
you
change
just-
cards?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, we are trying not to change cards because I think the best environment is one where you guys come up with strategies to beat the current dominant strategies, and not us. I don't think it's as fun when this deck is winning and everyone's like, okay, well that deck just wins. Let's wait for Blizzard to change something, and then we'll keep playing.
Right.
It's more fun when you're like, oh, how do I build a deck that's good against this deck and that deck? What cards do I put in to take advantage of the weaknesses that are shared amongst the current meta? Am I okay with losing to having a low win percentage against this type of deck? If I can get a higher win percentage against this type of deck, what do I expect to see when I go up that ladder? I think that's cooler than just throwing your hands up and like, okay, well they'll come in and fix this at some point, and I'll keep playing the deck that I always play. So I'd rather not change any cards. I'd rather come out with a bunch of super balanced cards that seem really overpowered, and then have you guys experiment in that space. But we at the same time, we're always looking at what is going on, and if there is something that is truly awful, we could come in and change it. But it so far I don't think has quite happened that we've had that since release. Certainly, a lot of cards have come very close to that mark, but I don't think we've seen anything where we had to come in and immediately step in and say, okay, this is not right yet.
Okay, so why don't we continue the balance talk? Like, I think we have a few more balance questions, but into our balance section of the show. So why don't we move on into the balance, and I'll let Trump start it off with some balance questions here. Jeff, you wanna start off with some?
Sure. At the end there, I just wanted to add that I like how everything's going to change up and how over the weeks there's going to be a lot of variety. That's why I play Arena, and I also really love how they're introducing the cards slowly into Arena. That's going to be really cool as a way to introduce them to the set. Mm-hmm. All right. That said, though, let me unleash a question on you.
I was waiting for that.
Oh, man. He's been waiting all this time to get that one out there.
It's a question I'm sure has been hounding you for a bit. Are there any concerns about Hunter right now in the design team's minds?
Good.
And if so, what are they?
Well, I think that Unleash the Hounds is one of the cards I get the most feedback on, not just from Twitter or by read posts about it constantly. People around the office come by my desk and are like, dude, what's going on with this card? And it's probably the card that is the highest up on our cards that we're looking at and say, hey, if we do change something, this is a card that would be maybe a candidate for that. But at the same time, it actually has been very interesting to watch what's happened, at least at the highest levels of play, regarding hunters and their win rates. Because I see everything on the back end, and hunters for a little while skyrocketed, and they were the top. And now there's a lot of new decks that are coming out that are really good against hunters, and people are hitting legend with a bunch of different types of different classes, and so things are changing, and that's kind of what we've seen basically about any meta that has existed in Hearthstone to date, is that people come up with ways to defeat even really good strategies. So it's interesting, and we're looking at it. I wouldn't expect a change anytime soon to any hunter cards, but if things, we're paying very close attention, and we could see a change at some point potentially, but I wouldn't expect anything soon. I guess I'm trying to say it all to couch your expectations. There are decks that beat it. If you're frustrated by Unleash the Hounds, you can build decks to crush these decks. But I know that people are.
They might be terrible against everything else, but yes, you can definitely do that. The percentages of hunters right now, you're seeing a ladder with your stats. Is it crossed the threshold where it